Welcome to episode 13 of our book read through of Elon Musk Awoke Messiah by Albion. We left off on this page with a heading that reads, "Hey Elon, do you think there is value in exploring the oceans?" You always hear how unexplored the oceans are. And I guess you have to ask yourself the question, what are you trying to figure out? There's other organisms. I guess what could you gain from that compared to studying something else? But it'd be interesting to hear his thoughts. Then we have an LBM blurb from 2077 that reads, "I imagine the womb being a warm and confined existence, confined but not suffocating. My mind open and seamless, engulfed in moisture, I felt at one with my environment. My soft thoughts flowed effortlessly throughout the universe. No sense of self, my mind had not abandoned me. No deliberation, no questions to be answered, only immediate reactions. A perfect pushing and pulling with my environment, exact balance, completely connected to all parts of the galaxy, no boundaries. A pure and innocent existence I would never know again. A perfect understanding I would never be able to regain." That's interesting. So he's thinking about himself before he was born. It makes me kind of think of, your senses are less. I mean, your sense of sight, everything is kind of subdued because you're in this dark, confined space, and what that does to the way you think. Maybe you are more like just a reactive animal. Are you pondering the past and future at that point? And below that is a heading that reads, "Consider this. Rich and relatable. Elon farts and poops like the rest of us. All of the stinky, gross, and vile things that we all experience as humans are also experienced by Elon. Does this make him more relatable? Sure. Does this make his accomplishments even more amazing? Sure." Yeah, I would agree with that. I think sometimes we look at figures like Elon and forget that he is, a person just like us, grew up as a child just like us, but it does make his accomplishments maybe even more impressive because he's got the same number of hours in the day and still has to deal with the basic human needs of pooping and farting and eating and sleeping. All right. Next page is a poem entitled "Collars and Ties." "The stupidest thing that have ever crossed my eyes were the inventions of collars and ties. All a collar does is make my neck hot, and I can never correctly tie a tie knot. I need a much stronger word than hate. They serve no purpose except to frustrate." Yeah, I probably agree with that. I don't know if we're supposed to think about. I'm sure there probably is, or at least was, a purpose for ties and collars, but maybe a reminder to look at things and continue to question the purpose of them, and maybe over time the purpose of some things ceases to exist, but we just keep doing them out of habit. Below that, we have an Albion blurb that reads, "Music is the language of nature, heavenly whispers of truth. Music talks to your soul uninhibited, strong and disarmingly direct. So evolved we cannot explain, we cannot understand. It speaks to the most sophisticated of our many emotions. Music humbles you as its obvious perfection reflects your ignorance. Music is the language of the gods, harmonies and melodies we cannot process. It delivers us from our logical dysfunctions only by grace. It pushes and pulls us in the most organic way, a subtle yet powerful and perfect force." I like that. Yeah, I think we all have an experience with music and kind of the way it makes us feel or it makes us think. I think it's one of those things we maybe can't put a finger on how it's doing it, but it does, take us maybe to a different place mentally, physically. Um, Interesting. And then in bold, it reads, Heavenly whispers of truth push and pull us in the most organic way. Below that is a Bertrand Russell quote that reads, One of the symptoms of an approaching nervous breakdown is the belief that one's work is terribly important. Yeah, that's probably true. So maybe just a reminder to relax. Nothing is important enough to have a nervous breakdown over. Next page, we got a heading that reads, Hey Elon, Mars seems kind of cold. Are there any warmer options? This, I don't know what to think of this. Kind of a, you're always going to find someone who's going to complain about anything, despite what you're trying to do, I guess. No matter how grand of a mission it is. And below that is an Albion blurb that reads, What is the goal of our education system? Are these goals stated? Are these goals agreed upon? Are we working backwards to create standards that help students reach these goals? What kind of software are we programming the next generation with? Is it outdated? Is education a priority? Is it a high enough priority? What is more important than education? Are our students spending a majority of their formative years moving through an archaic and under-prioritized system? If so, is there a greater travesty? How much has your education affected you, and how much better could it have been? That is definitely something to think about. Yeah, I mean, students spend their most formative years in the education system, and how effective is it, and how much more effective could it be? Do we prioritize less important things over education all the time? Probably, which is, like it says, probably a huge travesty. And then in bold it reads, what kind of software are we programming the next generation with? And how much care are we putting into that software? Below that is another acrostic, Neuralink. And it reads, never ever underestimate really awesome leaders innovating in neural knowledge. I like that acrostic. Much more than the boring one. Next page starts with a poem entitled Same or Special. Sometimes I just want to be unique, for people to listen when I speak, to be different and special and one of a kind. But sometimes I just want to find people who are the same so I can belong. These are the things for which I long. That kind of, that whole duality of humans thing keeps popping up. I think we could all probably relate to that a little bit, wanting to be special and unique and appreciated for that, but at the same time wanting to belong. People want the best of both worlds, largely, I think. I think that's a very human thing. And then how do we go about getting that, or dealing with the fact that we can't have that, at least not always? Below is an LBM blurb from 2073 that reads, It is hard to understand the mind of future souls. How different will we be a millennia from this day? More evolved in many ways, perhaps less evolved in others. Different individually, different as a society due to exponential change. A time dominated by science and certainty. In many ways more determined and certain, so much understood. In many ways less exciting and spontaneous, so much understood. So civilized in many aspects of life, more like robots. So peaceful and connected to truth, honest and simple. Will we ever evolve this much? Debatable. Yeah, it's interesting to think about the future and think about how people will be different. Probably whatever we conclude will be wrong, but it may be different in better or worse ways, or both. And then, in bold, it reads, future souls will be dominated by robots. That's a little scary. And then below that is an Elon Musk quote that reads, the most entertaining outcome is the most likely. Yeah, I think you go back, I don't know if that's accurate 100% of the time, but it's just something to think about, or look at things and see if that actually is the case. And that is where we'll end episode 13. Join us for the next episode when it comes out, and until then, have a great day.